What is up, down, and sideways, you lovely individuals? We have returned, you best believe. It's League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys to roll onwards and continue with the LEC Summer Preseason Power Rankings, now hitting the top 5, which I feel like in the past it's kind of an easy 1-2 at the very least with who's going to be there, but not in 2021 Summer.
No, not in 2021 summer, and it's also kind of crazy that we've just done the back half of the LEC Power Rankings, going from 10 to 6, talking about that fight for the last playoff spot was what that segment of the Power Rankings felt like, and being excited about that competition level that we're going to have. Well, here's the next half of the competition, and it's not really about who's going to be picking up that second last and in that middle tier of the playoffs. This is all about who is the top dog of the LEC, fighting for that elite level crown.
I'm excited to talk about all 5 of these teams because they all have an interesting angle that you can look at. And at number 5, we start with Fnatic, and obviously the wide BWIPO of the room is BWIPO swapping to jungle. And I mean, 5 for some people is probably too high for Fnatic. And to be honest, if Shulka and SK both make 0 changes to their roster coming into this year, I think you put Fnatic behind both of them.
Yeah, I think with that knowledge of what has shaken up and changed with the rest of the LEC, the adaptations and learning that we'll have to go through for other rosters, you look at this Fnatic one and you understand what type of player BWIPO is, right? And this is not meant to be some wild saying of, oh my God, he pressed R on Volibear onto Ruthless as an ADC. That's it.
All-time play.
Let's start naming insect level plays from BWIPO. It's coming up. I believe it. The icon that we need in the jungle. Slow down the brakes on that. But absolutely need to give credit and need to realize that this is a player that has shown to have a deep champion pool, that is willing to learn, adapt, pick up these type of things and provide a role. And as well as we've seen from everything you can hear behind the scenes, not looking for a self-made type of rumor, BWIPO is a pretty dang good teammate to be around and is willing to try and do his best to help the team in any type of facet that he can. We've seen that when he has played down in the bottom lane for Fnatic, and I think we're going to see it again come up, obviously, in this split as a jungler for the squad.
I mean, him and Hilly are both the biggest example of always willing to die for the betterment of the team, sometimes a little too eager to die in some of these matches. Obviously, the BWIPO change is going to be far and away the biggest question mark for this roster for Fnatic, and when they did this reveal, they specifically are choosing highlights of BWIPO throughout his career. They're like, look at the Rengar play, the Volibear, picking only these potentially jungle champions, which, hey, to his credit, as he said, he has played some wacky stuff in the top side. But the man replacing him topside, Adam, coming in, I think there's a decent amount of hype for him. Obviously, winning EU Masters, he was one of the key members for that squad, and I'm excited to see him. It's going to take time to develop, and right now at this level, maybe BWIPO would have had the higher ceiling, but I think with time to develop, he could be one of the better top laners in the LEC.
Really like that you brought up, in a comparison, if you had BWIPO there in that top side, because you can only do that, I think, really at the beginning of the split, talking about, this in theory and in practice before we get to the actual games, because then it has to be that shift, that change. And, BWIPO is filling this role for the team, needs to be viewed in that sense and allow Adam the freedom, and the respect of being his own individual top lane, solo laner player, and what we can see from him. You said the ceiling could be higher for someone like BWIPO, and I would agree with that right now where Adam is in his career. But as far as consistency and the floor that you're going to be receiving, I feel it will absolutely be better than what we did see from BWIPO this past season, and possibly from what we ever did see with BWIPO with Fnatic as far as consistency goes, in the way that Adam is able to carry you, in the way that he is able to pop off at times in games. That's what I would think would be happening more often.
At the very least, you've got to expect to get less fluctuation, because BWIPO, the last couple of splits, you'll see him leading the league in solo kills and also leading the league in deaths. It's very much feast or famine with him, and expecting a little bit less of that feast from Adam, but he's not going to be starving as much up there, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think one of the other important things to examine with this Fnatic roster when we talk about it and trying to get as much that you can out of it You have to be looking at the bottom lane to have a bounce back in performance, gelling even more. That is something that needs to be worked on between both Upset and Hylissang, sharing responsibility for that improvement. And then Niski himself, I think in the mid lane, you could look at him and see moments, glimpses of some of that potential, that promise that we talked about, but not nearly enough to assert himself into that top tier of LEC mid laners, which he is more than capable of and has shown us that level of talent. It's just putting it together consistently for a Fnatic roster.
Yeah, and I think it showed, Niski and Upset both showed enough that you're confident in them at the very least being a playoff team, which is why we're sitting with Fnatic in that number 5 spot. Number 4 is where it gets even more interesting, because you talk about all these roster changes. Already mentioned Schalke, SK, now the role swap for Fnatic. It feels like all those teams have taken a step back, and then you bring in a hyped up new roster like Vitality, where I feel like the absolute ceiling is maybe where we have them right now. Maybe they could slide into that top 3, but 4 might seem a little bit high for some people, but there's absolutely potential for a legit deep playoff run for this squad.
Talking about a couple of these teams, it feels like that, that lukewarm bathtub water. It's not really hot and not really warm. This Vitality team, that's the scorcher hot. You dip your toe in it. Oh, I gotta wait for this to cool down, my man. That is what we've got with the changes coming this summer for the Bees. Vitality. I don't know if you've been paying any type of attention to the LEC, any type, over the course of the last 2 years. You hear about the changes Vitality made for this summer split, gearing up, ready to shake things up, try to challenge the established order in the LEC. I don't know how you cannot be excited by what's going on.
Things were already turning around a little bit for the squad. When Crownshot came in, he clearly can still be one of the best AD carries in the LEC. So they keep the bot lane with him and Lebrov. And Leader is a guy who obviously people are on the absolute two sides of the spectrum when you're talking about him. You want to see him play these off-meta assassins and dominate, think he could dominate the LEC. He can't play the meta champions. He shouldn't even be in the LEC. So I'm excited because he's going to narrow in on one of those sides of the spectrum. I think it's going to be more to the guy has the mechanics to be one of the better players of the LEC.
Absolutely. That's where I think we're going to see this more so shift towards, I think expecting it to be completely, standard, traditional, just Oriana's. That's not what the case is going to be. That's not Leader, as we've seen him throughout the European Masters and everything else. Very excited for this opportunity to come together, everything about it, multiple members and the different aspects that they can bring to a roster, trying to challenge, and is hungry for that level of respect. That is going to be something extremely exciting. But again, the other thing is, as much as we want to be hyped and excited about all these type of things, it's knowing from history and the past times, sometimes these type of things take some time to get going, to generate that level of cohesion with the group and what they're talking about, what you want to get accomplished. These type of things in communications are very important. I don't have any real doubts about that for Vitality, but I think it's worth mentioning and noting to be aware of.
And seeing the personalities that are going to go together on this squad. Obviously, Selfmade and Crownshot have played together on previous teams at EU Masters. We know that they're boys. We know that the personalities of Leader and Selfmade can go very much hand in hand. And how important is a mid-jungle duo in this current meta? And that's the main reason I'm excited, and I think other people are excited for this squad.
Yeah, and on top of everything else that we've talked about, you want to add a little bit more hot sauce to this heat fest here. You got Selfmade looking to absolutely prove himself and go feral against the rest of the LEC and what's going on.
Remember SK Selfmade, what he was doing to people then?
Hey, that was not what we were seeing him do to people last split on Fnatic. So we're going to need to see a bit of a bounce back on that if you want to bring back that Selfmade name.
I feel like he's going to be more, even though Crownshot is going to be a resource-hungry player and so is Leader, I feel like Selfmade is going to take more of a charge. He's the most veteran player on this roster, really, which is obviously something he wasn't close to on Fnatic.
Not even close, but it is quite the journey and path from his time on SK and what he was able to do there and continue to grow. But this is, again, one of those opportunities that not only when you were stepping onto Fnatic, where you had to step up and be a premier elite level jungler, this is a bit different, right? This is stepping outside. And when you look at the rest of this roster, yeah, you can have some hype around Leader. Yes, Crown Shot's got his fans, and people can believe in him. I'm a secret big fanboy of LeBron and what he's going to be doing down in the bottom side. I think that there's not enough faith in what he can do. Absolutely, you better believe that the star, the one that has to be looked at to perform every time, every game, that's self-made to me for this Vitality roster.
He's been to Worlds, he's been to best of fives, been to finals now. He's going to bring all that experience and hopefully be one of the key leaders for the squad. And I'm sure he's excited to take on that role and prove that he can, in fact, handle it. The top three this year of the LEC, listen, in the past it was G2 and Fnatic. You could do the power rankings pretty much any point in the year, and that was going to be the case. This split, in particular, it's going to be a little different because, Mark, we've got G2 at number 3 heading into this season, and honestly, I don't see how you can put them higher, fresh off of losing a best of 5 to both Rogue and Mad Lions. No doubt in my mind, G2 can and probably will get back to number 1 this split. But heading in to the preseason for it, got to have them 3.
The only way that you really want to be having G2 higher up in the standings is just if you are completely unable to ignore the names on the roster. If you're just looking at names and their history, the pedigree, everything else, you're going, well, how could it not? It's G2. They got Reckless. All these type of things you're going on about. But then you talk about how they played. You watch the matches. You look how they've been up against the rest of the competition in Europe, how the rest of the competition has risen to that level of excellency, that level that is needed to challenge a G2 and the talent that they have. Unfortunately, given the result in spring and what they did to start out summer in a preseason power rankings, not going to climb any higher than 3rd for us.
If you're putting them higher, it's the potential and what you think they'll be ending at, which is fine. You can do that, but we're talking preseason coming into this. It does feel weird having gone so long without even talking about G2 because you're usually talking all throughout MSI. So it feels weird to have not talked about them in a month plus.
Well, and that's the thing. It feels weird to not talk about them in so long. And then when you think about when the last time you saw them was not the most impressive form of G2, all things considered. Not what you wanted to be seeing from this elite group put together, right? Reckless and everything that he talked about joining G2. Well, not, and again, not put this specifically on him as the individual player, but that ending result, that performance from G2 in that series to end out the spring split, that is not what you were signing up for. That is not what you signed to contribute to as well. So yes, when we think back to G2 and everything else, it is even more sour than it should be, given the potential and the hope that should be around a roster with these players and the names that they are.
Top to bottom, all 5 players, the entire coaching staff, I've got to fully believe that with how that split ended, how dominant they've been, and all these narratives of the new era, the new kings of Europe, I think this entire organization is going to be the most pumped up, inspired, motivated to bounce back than they have been in years and prove that they are still the best in Europe.
If any of them watched a single game from MSI, I have the full belief that they are completely motivated for what is ahead of them. Because if you're G2, you're watching MSI, you're seeing these mistakes, you're seeing some sloppy
We could have won
plays.
that, guys.
Absolutely, let alone you're watching your own team, right? The Mad Lions, which deserved to go, took you down, all these type of situations that you want to be talking about, and you watch how they perform and what they're learning on the international stage, and you don't go, well, that should be us. I think that, I'm going to go more than just 5 members of G2. I'm going the full coaching staff all the way up to Carlos at the top and saying that had to be G2. Need to see that course corrected for summer split.
They got a chance for the bounce back in summer, but ahead of them in that 2 spot, it's still Rogue. They win the semifinal match against G2. They were so close to being the ones heading to MSI. And with all 5 members coming back, I mean, I don't see, really it's just a mental bounce back for them. Are you devastated that you were so close to getting to MSI, or does it kind of refuel and motivate you to think, guys, we are that close, we can get there in summer?
That's the key. That is the big time key for me, because as a Rogue team, especially this Rogue core of this roster that has had to match their heads against G2 and have G2 say, nope, you're not good enough today type of situation time after time again, and then maybe figure it out this time during spring split, during the regular season in the spring split. not in time, obviously, for anything to matter in playoffs, and then eventually again with the Mad Lions. Yes, the rebound has to be there, and that's what I mean by in the focus of not, getting too depressed, of realizing another opportunity passes by, and this time it wasn't the G2 Samurai that we couldn't get by. It was the Mad Lions, another squad emerging in the European region. I have faith in Larson and the rest of this rogue lineup and the mentality that they should have. I feel like it's still going to be that one of a competitive hunger and desire to be that top team eventually in the European region.
I don't see why Hansama Larson inspired. They're going to stay top 2, at worst top 3 in their role. Otawamne, yeah, he had one of the best splits of his career, but with this team and the role he plays in it, don't see why he can't have the same level of performance. And somebody like Trimby, I'm honestly only expecting him to get better.
Yeah, and I think that is a very important thing to realize, that not only is that going to affect the bottom lane and how he gets better, but it's absolutely going to be something that plays in with the rest of the team around the map when you get into those team fights. Because certainly, if you wanted to identify, I feel weak link is too strong of a wording, and people are going to be too negative about something like that. But that's the gist that we're going for, in that sense of what needed to fix and what needed to come around. And again, if you keep seeing that potential improve, the top end of this team is going to get scarier.
And I mean, the 2v2 particular only getting better and scarier if you're rogue. Hansama, you only have to look at his laning numbers the last year and a half. They're gross, man.
Say, and him getting out even safer, even better advantages. If there's somebody that loves to make sure you know how big of an advantage bottom lane picked up no matter what lane you're in, Hansama loves to get around the map and make sure he's dishing out that damage.
And you've heard Perks, some other NA and even EU players talk about Hansama, saying that he was the best performing AD carry from Spring, has consistently been one of the best AD carries basically since his debut in 2017 with Misfits. So excited to see the growth of Trimby alongside Hansama in the bot lane, and Larson-inspired Otawame, just expecting more of the same when the summer split is rolling around. Now we get to the number 1 squad, and listen, a lot of it was going to be based on MSI. If they completely shat the bed and didn't even get out of groups, could you imagine a major region team doing that? Oh my gosh, Mad Lions would be hearing it from the fans, but luckily for them, they had a pretty damn good performance. 5 games against Damwon, took a game off of RNG. They're the champions from Spring, and there's no reason to take them away from that top spot until someone does it throughout the season.
I feel like even when you look at what they accomplished at MSI, the lessons that they got, the experience, everything like that, you're going to come away and undervalue actually what they did and what they gained from this experience, from the event. That is why so excited to have Mad Lions as our top team in the preseason. Yes, based off of, certain amount of respect for being the champions of the spring split, and that combined with continued growth. That's the one that we want to be talking about. And I know not every team gets the opportunity for it, but hey, too bad you didn't win the split. That's why you don't get the opportunity to prove yourself at MSI. The Mad Lions did, and we absolutely got to be talking about my man in the top lane, Armut, and what he has done and how he has changed the dynamic for the Mad Lions. You love to see it.
The best part of a lot of the performances across MSI is you take a look at a handful of the games that they played, and on any given day, you could highlight a different player for having a standout performance. Armut, whenever the man gets Wukong, it's only in a game-changing or series-altering game where he has a pop-off performance. It's the ultimate pocket pick for him. Elyoya, we were talking about in a tournament with Wei and Canyon as the best performing jungler for a stretch of it. And the bot lane for Mad Lions, if they play like they did at MSI when they come back to the LEC, then it only takes this team to another level, especially within Europe.
They've entered that, the rare G2 type of territory where you talk about every single player and you kind of go to yourself, well, there's not really any option that's better in the region at times when you're thinking about what confidence you can have for them going into a matchup. And that's not meant to be that, every single 1v1 is a smash in your favor. That's meant to be, well, when you think about everybody in the top lane, I think Armut can handle everybody. He can make sure that he's winning. He can be a guy that certainly needs to pay respect and can't be beaten. But when you talk, but that's how you feel about every single position on the Mad Lions. You go down to jungler, talking about Yoya and what he can do, and he is one of the guys that certainly pushes the pace amongst the very best
As a
of junglers
rookie,
in the LEC.
rookie year.
Especially that considered as well. Humanoid, whatever you want to call him, he doesn't care. He is picking up. He's in the mid lane and becoming, again, one of the best mid laners that we've seen from the European region. And how can we not talk about the bottom lane of Karzi and Kaiser, the one that everybody, ourselves included, doubted. We're seeing on a downward trend heading towards MSI. Bounces back and kicks the teeth in of every other bot lane around the world.
They were bored in EU. They wanted a bigger challenge, I guess. They were waiting for MSI.
I said, this Reckless guy, we've seen him before. Bring me Doggo. That's who. And then maybe not wanting Doggo.
Maybe not Doggo. Maybe not Gala, actually. Maybe keep those guys away. We'll go back to Reckless. But
bring us Ghost again. Bring us Ghost.
Yes, Ghost is good. Yeah, I think unless you're talking about something, peak wonder is what the issue for everyone in EU was and would be for Armut, but we haven't seen peak wonder.
Got to uninstall WoW. That's it.
TBC Classic, man. It's bad timing for Summer Split coming out. He'll have to hit that little level 70 real quick. But Mad Lions, I mean, you really saw them come into their own and reach an even higher level at MSI, and the rest of EU should be a little scared with them coming back with what they learned from the midseason invitational. And if you're the Mad Lions, even though you didn't get to the finals, you didn't win a best of 5, you should be coming back to EU to defend your crown with a whole lot of confidence.
And not only coming back with lessons against RNG, lessons from Damwon, PSG, and everything else. And of course, shout out to the Pentanet boys getting in there. Even Cloud9, you got to be taking back some lessons, not from North America. Don't be taking those ones. But we had Perks. Perks was there. Huh? How about that? You got some lessons to still be learning from. A lot of good things that I think can come from this MSI for the Mad Lions. Just talking about them getting there and the progress to be the champions of the European region is very good and makes you feel happy about everything going on there. But what can happen now, the exponential growth from these experiences at MSI, this is the team to watch this summer split in Europe.
And, I mean, really, with only 3 teams going this year from the LEC, I'm hard-pressed to not be picking Rogue, Mad Lions, and G2, unless this Vitality squad absolutely overperforms what anyone was expecting, or you've got Fnatic and the role swap works out brilliantly. I'm hard-pressed to not see the top 3 heading to Worlds.
I see it as this top 3. I'm going to hold out hope for either Vitality and Fnatic to make it very interesting, right? To provide that challenge, that fight in the standings for these berths. That's what I'm hoping to see. As far as expectations, my man, I think it's going to be a clean ride for this top 3 with so much up and down and unpredictable changes for the rest of the LEC.
Especially, I mean, Vitality's carrying a 10th place finish over from Spring, so that doesn't help.
Absolutely doing yourself no favors for summer split.
But the top 3, it looks like the other 7 teams in Europe need to step up to the plate, get up to their level if they want to vie for that world championship status. But it's a different split in Europe because things aren't just easy cut and dry for G2 to carve through all the competition. Mad Lions and Rogue, the narrative has been killed to death, the new kings of Europe, but they absolutely are heading into the summer split, and G2 got to prove that they can get back on top. That is it today, though, for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thank you so much for watching the LEC Power Rankings, and we will catch you on the Flippity Flip.